Imagine taking a company from $1 million market cap to 413 million in just a few months. And it sounds kind of impossible, but today's guest has done exactly that. And he's ranked among the world top 10 CEOs multiple times. Brian is a powerhouse of entrepreneurship with over 110 entities and 200 plus joint ventures across 25 industries. And from transforming businesses to driving innovation, I think his impact is undeniable. So I'm incredibly humbled and thankful you're here. Brian, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Well, it's my pleasure and honor. Thanks for having me today.
I wanna start with why do you do what you do? Because that big question comes to someone like that. When you do one thing, you have one why. But when you do many things, what is your why?
Yeah, it's evolved, but there's been consistent whys throughout, even as a child, adolescence, and then building companies. I always loved bringing and adding value to people or collective people, and I loved creating win-win partnerships and opportunities and value propositions for everybody. So that's been my consistent is how do we create more together? I often say, let's make peanut butter and jelly and create this perfect combination. So that's evolved to more and more opportunities and opportunities on a bigger scale because of my consistency, very strong ethical integrity, um, characteristics and virtues and values in me and who I am. So it's very important that my why and my how and what I do is ensuring I always pick like-minded people that, at the end of the day, it's just good people doing good work. And the byproduct of that is money, success, increased value. At the end of the day, I just love helping people. I love creating opportunities. I love seeing maybe an entrepreneur or a founder or a CEO that has something great, but they don't know the right people, they don't have the right access, they don't have the right strategy. And when you take something great but doesn't have those outlets and you drop it into my ecosystem or my world, it's the best thing in the world when you see somebody light up, like a founder light up, that they knew they had something great, they knew they had something that could make some magic, and they just needed somebody like me to help push it. And that's what I love to do.
I love to hear that, and I think that most people have the same intentions. They'll work with good people. They want to create value together. They want to win together. People who have been in business long enough know that everybody's a good guy until they're not. Everybody has good intentions until something happens. How do you make sure that you are talking to the right person? How do you make sure that it is a win-win?
Yeah, well, I'll be, oh my gosh, I'll be 44 in May. And, the best way of knowing anything is experience. So I love that I've gotten my ass kicked in multiple industries, multiple times. I love that I met the devil in multiple industries many different times. And I don't like judging people, but for who I am and what I am, I'll say I've met very bad people. I've met people without a soul, people without any ethics or integrity, but very crafty and clever that they got me to believe them. So, I give them compliment on that. And, what's key to my evolution is not being mad at them for their actions. That's not on me. Being aware that what do I need to do to make sure that never happens again? So as you get older and you meet these people, and it's like a what do you want to call that? Merry-go-round. They come back, different clothes, different names, different visual people, but inside it's the same person you met 2 years ago that did X, Y, and Z to you. So you can spot these characteristics much more quickly. And also as you get older, you become a little bit more confident in calling them out and getting them out of your life as quickly as possible, like cutting it out like a cancer. So the best thing is to meet awful people, go through those experiences, get slapped around a little bit because it makes you more seasoned to be more prepared to handle those types of people when they come back into your life. What you have to really be conscious about is not becoming jaded or bitter or angry. Because if you take those and you internalize it, then you start to not like humanity because somebody did you wrong. It doesn't mean everybody's going to do you wrong. And that somebody may have been having a bad moment. There's a line, desperate times call for desperate measures. You don't know what they were going through. Shame on them for doing what they did. Shame on them for not communicating and being transparent with you on why they needed to do what they did. But I will say, from my experience, every awful person I met, and my definition of awful, of what they put me through, doesn't mean they're an awful person, but what they put me through was an awful situation. I met incredible people and some of my best friends through that person because they also screwed them. And then we've created this trauma bond together because we both got screwed by the same person. So if you can unravel every situation, there's a way to find a silver lining and a way to see that everything does happen for a reason, even though somebody may have robbed you from some money, went behind your back and stole a deal from you, were trying to sell you something they didn't even actually own. The examples are endless of what crafty criminal type people will do, but you can learn from them. And your learning is knowing how to avoid them and how to protect what you're doing in your life and what you're building.
The fact that you said don't become jaded, because there's a saying in Wall Street that there's no brave old dogs, which means once you get hit with a newspaper too many times,
Yeah.
you tend to like kind of like, have that gut feeling of let's protect ourselves. What are those red flags or yellow flags that you can, I don't want no generalization, but perhaps that you say, I'm careful with this, or I look at this twice before I make a decision.
I have the flag definition is fine. I have some red flags that are pretty easy to use. The best thing is how do they treat other people? And by other people, hierarchy, can't say the word, the hierarchy of people or class structure of people. And I don't use that. We are all equal. I don't care what's in your bank. We are all humans. We're all here for a purpose. I don't put people in those scales, but people that are just there to take advantage of people, they do that. They want to know who can they get something from, who is of value to them that they can steal from, that they can use as a springboard to get to somebody else. So with that mindset, go out to dinner with them, go out for lunch with them, see how they treat wait staff. Do a meeting in a hotel or in the lobby and see how they treat the staff walking around. See if they say thank you. See if they tip. See if they really respect another human being that they are not going to get anything from besides a nice experience or a human interaction. Easiest thing to do. If they pay the bill, see if they over tip, see if these are types of characteristics where I like to look at where they really acknowledge somebody in an industry, they really acknowledge somebody that's serving on them. How do they treat them? How do they respect them? How do they show them decent human dignity? I also look for triggers like if they're trying to flash me fancy watches or fancy shoes or some bullshit logo on a belt. These are insecurities. These are people that are just driven by brands and by their, listen, I love the style and I respect people that style, but you can do it in a way where it's not offensive. You can do it in a way where you're not trying to be bragging or showing off. I've learned that people that are very materialistic driven, just hear the conversation. See if they talk about fancy cars. See if they talk about fancy watches. See if they talk about fancy vacations. See if they show off their trophy wife or husband. These are all, it's one of the seven deadly sins. These are vain. This is vanity. This is what takes people off of that ethical path of just we're all in this. We're all trying to figure it out. All trying to survive. But if you're trying to survive and you're driven by money and money's your God and things are your God, then you will do anything you possibly can do to get more. Therefore, you're going to put me in harm's way because I'm going to be collateral damage because you just want more and more things to brag and show off about. So when I see those types of behaviors or that type of mentality, I'm out. I want people to have great things. I want people to have the best of the best, but I don't appreciate it when it's offensive or if they're just trying to put other people down or trying to show off. Know your audience too. Like don't do that in certain crowds of people where they may never obtain those types of things. And your graciousness or gratitude or any type of empathy towards what you have accomplished and what other people would die to accomplish.
I agree with you. I think that taking a look into their behavior, their attitude is a far better indicator than their business model, perhaps, or their deck, because everybody can outsource even a beautiful deck, or the words on it can be incredible. But really judging the character is such an important part of due diligence on who do you partner with. You mentioned
Absolutely.
money. What does money mean to you?
It's not real to me. It's not a real thing. It's a necessary evil. You need it to pay your bills. You need it to do anything. But it's to me, it's we depending on your belief system on how we got here. Money wasn't there next to Adam and Eve, for example. Like it was something that was man-made and created. We created this value system behind some sort of a currency that you need to go and earn and obtain and save and spend. But it takes us off of our own capabilities of knowing how to survive without that. We're supposed to be able to survive off of like animals, off of the land and build our own shelters, be able to farm and grow our own food and be self-sustainable. Money changed that entire model unless you're in a third world country. I can't connect with it being real, but what I can connect with it in its abilities is to how it can help people. For example, in the US, there is enough wealth in the US alone where there should not be anybody living on the street, hungry or thirsty or without clothes. It's offensive and absurd that the amount of wealth that people brag about here in this country, and there's that many people in poverty. Unacceptable. And on a global scale, there's enough wealth where it can be eradicated. But there are mechanisms in place to break to make that gap bigger and to keep people poor, basically, and to keep people unable to achieve things. It's one of the other reasons why I'm such a advocate for things like blockchain and cryptocurrencies for over 10 years, because everybody has a mobile phone. You may live in a hut, but you have an Android device. That device is going to allow people to have some type of fractional ownership into an asset or into an opportunity that they never had a chance to buy into before. Present day, still present day for most of the wealth of the world, if you have a good account in your Merrill Lynch, your Goldman Sachs, or Charles Schwab account, your broker will call you and say, "Hey, I have an opportunity to make you more wealthy with an IPO. And because your account is so good and because you make so many trades, I've allocated X amount of shares." That's how the rich get richer. They get invited into these opportunities. Now with things like blockchain and tokenization, it's open to everybody to be able to participate in those. And we are all for that. My public company is all for that. And that's where I see how money and assets and real world assets can really positively impact humanity as a globe, not just the one percenters of the world.
What do you think is missing for mass adoption? Because the idea is there, the technology is there, the opportunity is there, the necessity is there. Tokenization is something that's been discussed maybe for 5 years now. Why don't you think there's like a more appetite, or is there an appetite there?
A lot of it's being so there's a major appetite. You got 3 trillion plus in digital assets between these meme tokens and crypto projects and things like Bitcoin. So the market's there and growing. You've had segments that were metaverse focused, NFTs, now meme tokens. So you're seeing all these different movements happening. The mass adoption is going to come, how I see it, in the form of real world assets such as precious minerals, such as the United States commercial real estate, where that's the good old boys network that own the United States commercial real estate industry. That's like old money. If a tower in New York City can be fractional ownership to millions of people around the world, and maybe DLMI or a public company has put the right procedures and tech stack, and the user experience has to be so easy. That's another thing why you have such all these different friction points. You need to go on like you're going on your E-Trade or eToro or any Robinhood account. You need to go on and very easily be able to buy fractional ownership into a building, into a hotel, into a pile of gold somewhere sitting in a mine. Like if you can't log into that, like you log into your email and simply swipe, put the number and buy it, then it's going to defer people. But you can go back in history. Internet didn't scale or become widely adopted overnight. There was, people reference a lot of articles that it was a fad, that it's going away, it's disappearing. So it's going to take education. It's going to take people trusting it. That's the other thing. You have so many of these rug pulls, they call them. And I hate these terminologies out there. You have these BS projects that have no real value, no real meaning. They raise millions of dollars and then they turn it off and disappear. See, that's where you have to. I don't blame the criminal for doing that. I blame the audience for not taking a moment, breathing, and doing some due diligence and seeing, is this a real project? Are these real people running this? Is this, but the crypto movement, the token movement, the meme token, it's so hype driven. It's an advertising machine. So the more of those scams that go out there and steal money from people also hurts the momentum of scaling it for good and real projects. So there's, it's a wild, wild west. In our case, and what we're doing, we're always in the boundaries of regulatory compliance, FINRA laws, any U.S. laws. Here's what we want to do. Here's what we're doing. Here's our business or businesses, and we want to strategically bring in tokenization into these companies or into these entities or real world assets, and we want to invite people around the world to throw a few bucks into something and have ownership of something that they never had a chance or opportunity to buy into before. But to your point, you're going to one day log into your, again, Charles Schwab account. You're going to be able to buy a security token of a building somewhere in the world, and you're going to buy it just like you were clicking on buying a stock or a bond, and it'll get there.
I wouldn't say in the scale of a maximalist, I'm perhaps a seven. I do believe crypto is a liberating, it's a libertarian movement. It's more like let's be more powerful as an individual, and completely agree that one day we will get there. There's a second reason that tokenization is so promising is the secondary market, which is right now one of the hardest problems to solve when it comes to real world assets. They're not liquid. How do you see that this is addressing it? Is it going to address it? Or do you think it's the ownership part is predominant?
So, love this question. I don't look at even our own stock and our own company, I don't look at it as a trader. I look at it, let's build value in a security that continues to increase in value, that allows you to earn from, whether through dividend or yield or some sort of distribution. So I don't look at liquidity like a trader. So a lot of people tilt their head like a dog when I talk. I look at utilizing the opportunity to finance something through tokenization. So let's back up to the traditional models of raising money. You have your pre-series, your series round, all the way up to A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You go public. There's that roadshow of raising capital, raising money, running out of money, raising money, running out of money. Typically, or even if you're building a hotel or some sort of commercial real estate project, typically you have a GP and the partners get together and they say, hey, we want to go and do this. Let's go sell our LPs into this business model. Your LPs typically have a threshold of a certain minimum investment due. So you're already pricing out majority of the people. So if you're going to go and build a $10 million building, you want to raise, I don't know, you want to raise $5 million, it's a $100,000 minimum investment. So you got to go and, what's that, 50 people? You got to go and get $100,000 from 50 people to sell out your LPs. Sometimes it's a tough ask to go and estimate for $100,000. And the numbers are even bigger when they're $1 billion projects. The minimum investment may be $5 million. So you're going to a smaller group of people and asking them for a lot of money. How I look at it is you have a great project or a great real world asset or a great opportunity, and you're going to millions of people to finance $5 million. So if you're going to millions of people to finance $5 million, you can get $1 or $5, you can get 50 cents. So it's a much bigger net of an audience to bring in a little bit of capital to really create liquidity to finance whatever you're trying to do. The second piece of that, the secondary market's fun if you're a trader. Again, not my mindset. If we're building something as a company with value and cash flows and earnings, they may never want to exit that security or that token because they're going to earn from it, and it's going to appreciate in value if you've got a great team and a great business model. If you have a great team and a great business model and that token holder wants to sell it, don't you think the initial issuer should be the buyer of that token because they know the value of that token based upon the business that they're trying to create? So if you look at the model more like a loan or a pipe to fund something, opposed to trying to blast a token out in the market, maybe create something, and then most of your money is just marketing to try to get other people to buy that token, well, that's a pyramid to me. That's not building a real business. Build a real business, create real value, and if your token holders want liquidity or they want to exit, then your business should have the earnings and the cash flow to buy back those tokens because they create more yield. So the more the treasury has, the more the company has, the more cash flow they get to keep. That's how I see it. And that's my strategy. And I'm going to
Yeah.
continue on that. And I'm not going to buy into the crypto bro, Mountain Dew, hype machine that everybody else is doing. I'm not going to buy into it.
I think they've done more harm than good, and that's why perhaps your reaction is more emotional to like
Aggressive.
you're like why because they definitely made, just to give you a backstory, I do dabbed into tokenization for a long time. I invested a lot of money into tokenizing assets in the US. And when FTX happened, I said, I'm out because this guy ruined the party for us. It'll be a lot harder for people to adopt once they think anything that it's already hard enough to get people to invest. It's even harder to make them to agree to invest and then have to go into what you mentioned, a beautiful UX, which in that time, when you have to go into these wallets and it's just a little bit clunky. How far away do you think we are from getting there to a seamless, perhaps more Apple-esque experience? And is regulation on par, or do you think that's going to take longer?
Well, the verbiage of regulation or the verbiage of the new administration seems to be a great moment for the United States to once again claw back being a leader in innovation and to claw back being a leader in things like crypto or digital assets. That's the verbiage. We're going to see what happens when rules and laws get upgraded and amended and adjusted. So you, in theory, your question should stipulate in real time. This should be happening. Yeah, at the end of the day, you want to be able to conduct a token transaction or even things like buy an NFT without even knowing that a digital wallet was created, without even going through any of these steps. That's where you want to get to for the masses to understand what just happened. How did like did I do I is it fiat? Do I own a digital asset? Do I own a token? Like this all has to happen seamlessly behind the scenes. The more sophisticated user, they can become a little bit more involved and in depth with the processes and creating APIs into their favorite Macy's store location that not only are you now buying clothes or conducting some sort of transaction, but the reward system now that there was an NFT created around your customer profile that gives you even further rewards because your NFT is now connected to Macy's stock, which you also own in your Charles Schwab account. So at some point, this loop factor and reward system is going to be tied into the equity or the token that you own within a company or a conglomerate of companies and their product offerings. So if I own Macy's stock and I went to Macy's store and bought something, they don't know that right now. But if I went and paid with my phone, that's connected to my wallet, that's connected to my brokerage account that shows that I'm a Macy's stockholder and I'm buying this shirt, I'm not just going to get a 10% coupon because that's my Macy's reward. I'm going to get X, Y, and Z because I've been a shareholder of Macy's and I'm supporting their equity. And these systems are all going to be able to communicate and conduct this for us behind the scenes without us even knowing or doing anything. That's where we need to get to. And it's companies like hopefully what we're doing. It's companies like MoonPay that's doing fantastic. Their team is rock stars that create this innovation, this fun experience and environment where the teenager, the mid 20-year-old kid gets it and they build it, and the 6-year-old person just enjoys the experience and didn't have to do anything.
I think it's very exciting because I do feel there's a big disconnect between the stocks and the consumerism and having all that blend in into something. Even if you feel like, oh, I'm an Apple shareholder and I'm going to buy an Apple because somehow 1 cent of that is going to come back to me. It's a really cool way to not only promote your stock, but also like buy in for
Yeah,
people to feel like ownership.
yeah.
You've built and scaled over 110 companies. That's a crazy number. How do you approach identifying the right opportunity?
I'm addicted to helping people. So when I see I'm an entrepreneur and a founder, always. That's who I am. That's and I know the pain points they go through. So, I want to help as many people as possible on identifying the opportunity. I also want to know I can bring them or the collective immediate value, and that's so fun. That's the funnest part of my work and career is bringing something from zero to hero without spending a lot of money or time, because I already did that in my career. I already foolishly hired PR firms. I already foolishly paid ridiculous marketing fees. I was at the bottom of the scale paying for billboards that I learned that you're buying from somebody who's buying from somebody who's buying from somebody who's buying from somebody. So if you're the last one on that list, you're paying 100 times more than if you worked your way up to the actual inventory owner. These are all things you learn. Also helping them with their cash flows and saying, hey, well, why are you paying your vendors up front? You've been working with them for over a year. You should have terms. You have a history there. You should be paying 30, 60, 90. Helping them free up the opportunity to grow their business from earnings and properly managing their cash, other than shit, I ran out of cash, I got to go and raise money. And if you go and raise money, you're diluting your equity. And if you're diluting your equity, you're limiting your value, your valuation. So I try to explain to the opportunity, to the collective, to whatever's coming my way is the equity in your company. Think of yourself as a scuba diver, you've got an oxygen tank. Your equity is the oxygen tank. You do not want it to go down. You want to maintain control. It's your vision, it's your baby. You took a second mortgage on your house, your credit cards are maxed out. Like, this is yours. This is the risk that you took. Why are you diluting yourself down to nothing? Why are you ultimately one day going to work for somebody else because you no longer control your own vision and your own company? I am the opposite of the Shark Tank, guys. I am not like that. I want to come in, I want my fair little piece, and I want to see you freaking thrive. I could come into all these and take them over and just kick them out, but I don't think, I don't believe where we are right now is, I believe there's another level of, your soul and your spirit. So I'm not gonna treat people like that here in this nonsense world that I think is our learning playground. I'm gonna treat as people with integrity and respect, and I'm gonna value people. And if they want to work with me, and my history proves it, I'm gonna show you how we can turn this thing into something great. And we're gonna clean house. We're gonna get rid of advisors or BS people that aren't doing anything, or we're gonna give them 30 days to do something. We're going to give them a clock. Here's your calendar. You did nothing for this guy or this girl. You put him in harm's way. You have 30 days to go and bring him some meat. If you don't, you're gone. You get no equity. Talk with our lawyers. You got to surround yourself with really good, supportive people. You got to surround yourself with great, positive energy. And if there's anybody toxic in your life, whether it's a family member, a best friend, or a colleague, my opinion, they have to go. They have to go, or they got to be putting the time out until they come back into your life with a much better air and much better energy to help you. That's a
I
lot.
very
Through
no,
a
it's
lot,
very
actually.
admirable. It's very admirable. I'm an entrepreneur too. I also have the same. I'm giddy when someone tells me an idea and they have that energy and they're like, we could do this. We could. I'm also like, I get into it and I participate in their excitement and emotion. But what experience has taught me is I have to say no more often so that I can, and the yes says I can give 100%. But in your case, I think you found a method perhaps or a way to scale that. What is that method? How can you have so many things at once?
I think the scaling, so it's not really a lot when you have good systems and good people around you, and not there's no drama, there's no toxic energy. Like, we're not putting out fires all day because that's exhausting. When you're just focused on, like, my mindset is, let's just move an inch a day. Let's move an inch a day. At the end of the month, we move 30 inches. At the end of the year, do the math, 360 inches, whatever it is. So I like looking back and seeing our sustainable accomplishments. And if it's a setback, great. How do we work together as a team? How do we overcome that? What are we missing to overcome that? These are the fun parts to me. When I was building my first company as a beauty company in the late 90s, I built the first B2B, B2C e-commerce platform for the beauty industry. Stores, global distribution. I launched over 1,200 brands from late 90s to 2016, 2017. 1,200 different management, different leadership, different brands, different categories. That's different salons and spas we're selling to. We were Amazon.com's first beauty luxe retailer. It was Jet.com's first retailer. I was working with Walmart to build out their e-commerce platform. I helped design in 2012 the Target beauty aisles. There's a lot going on. A lot, and these brands were celebrity driven. So you had musicians, singers, actors, actresses, athletes, celebrities, and then up to influencers later on. 1,200 brands. I have all these employees. A lot. I was in Vietnam with nonstop 24/7 grief. And if you were on Amazon, like I was customer service, because if you didn't respond back to a customer within a second, they would ding your account or turn your account off if you didn't ship things out within less than a minute. It was madness. So when you go through that training with that much of volume and all that energy and activity and ups and downs and craziness that I went through, and you look at 100 and something different entities with great people and diversified products, and opportunities in IP and technology and services. It's so much less than that part of my life. It's much more calmer, it's organized, and it's great people. Like you said, learning how to say no. Like I say no to the wrong people. And if somebody catches me and sneaks in and I said yes to somebody that I missed some traits I should have picked up on, I don't say, oh, maybe it'll get better. No, it's not going to get better because I know it's not going to get better. They go. They have to be just kicked out, talk to our legal. I'm done with you. So that's what I've evolved into. And I believe this can continue to scale indefinitely because, again, there's great teams in place. My job is to help fix any problems, which I'm good at because I've been through so many problems. And it's to be a connector. So if I can connect that company or that person with an opportunity here, I do that, and then I'm out. I don't need to. I don't have this. A lot of people need to be involved, and they ruin it because they need to be there and watch everything and micromanage it and say this was mine. I did this. That's not me. I connect A and B. Guys are good. I step out. What I did learn a little bit too late on my learning curve was as a connector, you connect A and B. You just see the opportunity. You connect people. It's got to be the right people at the right time. And that took me too long to figure out. You've got to make sure both parties are ready to come together. They both have the abilities to come together. And if they do, then you connect them and you step out. But you monitor and you check in. You guys good? You need anything? They give you the thumbs up. It's on and off your plate. You're on to the next company or the next connection.
I got two things from there that I want to highlight, or perhaps these are my internal notes, is that your capacity or everybody's capacity is a lot more than they think it is. Because I believe what you've shown with your 1,200 launches was, people launch one brand and perhaps are thinking that they're running like headless chickens or like, like the fire all the time. But you're saying if you know what you're doing or you've been through a lot, this doesn't look like a lot. And then also you already know how to streamline into processes and you know where your value is and you're not at the perhaps ego stage where you're like, I need to see this start to finish, or I need to do A to Z on everything, because that's how a lot of people work.
Yeah. Well, if you're bringing capable people together, what's the point of you being there besides your ego? Capable person A and capable person B are capable of doing what they're supposed to do, go and focus on something else. People have a hard time with letting go of control. I don't have a hard time. Go and do it, please, because I'd rather do something else. I'll come in and help. I love being in the trenches with people. If you need me, tell me. Or if there's a problem, tell me. We'll fix it together. The other thing I recently did is I don't do hour long Zoom calls anymore. If we can't get done, we need to get done within 15 minutes. You're going to have to go back and figure out how to properly lay out the plan. Now, some things require some time. If there's architects and designs and engineers, that requires time. But if there needs to be a conversation on what needs to get done that week and we can't do it in 15 minutes, then I'm not taking the call until you realize how we can do it in 15 minutes. And that also gets people to stop with so much fluff. People also love the sound of their voice. I think it's bananas. There's a great movie with Eddie Murphy. I forget what it's called. And there's a tree in this movie. And every time he speaks, a leaf of the tree falls. The concept is when the last leaf falls off, he dies. So once he realizes this tree and the leaves are connected to all these wasted words, he streamlines his communication and who he speaks with to such important, powerful words and moments and with the right people. I think everybody should watch that movie. I think every business person, politician, everybody that just loves to do this and oh yeah, this, all this. Most frustrating thing in the world because you're wasting time. My private company motto is time is our most precious commodity. That's my soul, is that don't waste my time. If we need to take a lot of time and do things together and fix things and build something, for sure. But if you're wasting any second of my time, it's really want nothing to do with you.
I absolutely align with you on the time is our most precious commodity, and I agree, and I'm going to try to implement this of doing shorter meetings, because I've had people who want to do a meeting and then a meeting about the meeting, and let's talk about the meeting. What happened at the meeting? It's like, weren't we at the meeting? Why weren't we talk about this already?
I say that line all the time, especially in Los Angeles. You want to have a meeting about the meeting about the meeting. That's funny you said that.
No, but it's
You see,
it's
but you need to, and it sounds like you're getting there, own that voice, right? Be
what
the
what I
one to
have
call that out.
what I have the trouble is being polite about it, because I've had, someone invited me to their wedding, and I said, no, thank you. And they said, but you haven't even checked your calendar. And I wanted to say, I don't want to be there. You're asking me to fly around the world, like it just.
I love it. I love it.
And then obviously it was a little bit of, I shouldn't have said it that way. I should have perhaps
Right.
said, hey, I'm going to check my calendar. Unfortunately, I can't make it. I have other trips, or I'm already tripped out.
Yeah.
Like the whole time, I cannot do 5 days for your wedding.
I sympathize and I can really, and I respect how you said it. So coming from my standpoint, straight shooter. I love it.
Well, it's what we say in our company: a bullet to the head over five to the heart. Just
Yeah,
go for it. Because this is something that I've trained people around me, is to tell me all the bad thing at once, and not like a little bit of the bad thing and then I fix it, and then, oh, but there's another thing that you need to. It's like, come on, you're killing me softly. Just one to the head, and then we can move on.
I agree.
What other like unexpected lessons have you learned? You've given us really good ones about putting people together that are at the right time, shortening your meetings to 15 minutes. But what are like unexpected lessons that you're like, this took me from here to here?
A lot of it's psychological, right? Because we get into our heads, and that can be. I'm an overanalyzer. So again, way too late in my journey, I figured out how I could stop giving other people my mindset, and that changed my life. And what I mean by that is I stopped saying, why did that person do that? I would never do that. Or why did that person act like that? Why did that person say that? I would never do that. And that little festering toxic thought is crippling. And how I stopped doing that is, I said, nobody in life, we're all snowflake, right? Nobody has gone through, was raised in my household, gone through 100% of the same life experiences that I went through at the same time, in the same exact moment, in the same geographical region, all these different elements. Nobody has done that. There's nobody, I don't care if it's a doppelganger, whatever you want to call it, doppelganger, nobody in the world is going to act like me 100% of the time, as and when I'm acting like me. So when you figure that out, you no longer get mad at people for doing what they do. You have a different view or different lens of other people's actions. So not giving somebody else my mindset freed me tremendously, because I didn't carry this anger or resentment towards their actions, because that's on them. It's not on me. So it was very freeing for me. And then from there, it just continued to evolve into something I say in a lot of interviews. You're in a beautiful house, you have the window open, it's a beautiful sunny day, and a bluebird can come and sit on your window ledge and look at you and sing you a beautiful song. You can be like, that's amazing. That's like out of Snow White. Or a swarm of bees can fly in and attack you and your family. But you're not going to experience the good if that window's not open. So with me, I need to have the window and door open all the time, of all these opportunities around me and all these people around me and all these different things going on. And my evolution and my process has to be identifying the good ones based upon the people. And I can identify the people being good ones based upon my past experiences. And then if and when they may say or do something that doesn't align with me, I won't hold it against them. I'll be okay with it, because their life experiences are a hell of a lot different than mine. But as long as we align 90% of the time, and they're treating people right, or they have the right morals or integrity, or they're donating to St. Jude's. Like, if I see these simple things, I know I can move mountains with somebody.
I really admire this people first mentality, because I believe it's overlooked. A lot of people focus on product, on market, on finances, but really it's people first. That's who is going to do it. So you can have the most beautiful plan, but the people is where you need to focus.
I agree. I completely agree.
I don't know if you've read this book called Range, and it's about how people that have multiple experiences or a range of experiences can have better understanding of or better solutions oriented. The first chapter of the book shows Tiger Woods is a specialist. He's the best golfer in the world, perhaps not the best at anything else, or at least one thing is so overpowered that
Mm.
everything else fails in
Not the
comparison.
best husband.
Husband, businessman, like he's done a few faux pas on
Yeah,
the other side.
yeah.
And then they compare him to Roger Federer, who is used
Oh,
to
my
be a
favorite player of all time. I love him.
soccer player. He's a gentleman. He transcends sport. But right now, he's an incredible businessman. He's an incredible investor. Like he's excelled at so many other things. And they compare him how he wasn't a tennis player until 14 or 15, whereas Tiger Woods was a golfer at 6. Six. Why do I bring this to as an example? Because you're in so many industries and so many things, 25 industries. Can you tell us an experience where like the solution of one industry became or perhaps the idea of one solution became like you know what I'm
Well,
trying to go?
that's what I love about. I'm also very diversified because I went through hell and back in a lot of my professional career. I never filed for bankruptcy, but after a car accident, a drunk driver hit me in Nashville in 2016, my whole world collapsed. And I never wanted to be in that position again and having to rebuild. And also on that note, not to talk about it too much, but I was also very grateful that that woman hit me because she could have killed somebody and I'm still here. And she forced me to change my entire model and my entire business philosophy and structure and really surround myself with the right people. So I'm very good at, and not being delusional, but I'm very good at looking at that was an awful moment of my life, but I'm grateful for it. And I'm a better person from it, and my world's a better world for it. Even though it was hell to come back, I'm very grateful for it. So that's one of the reasons I'm very diversified is I never want to be in a situation where COVID taught us this. If there's an industry or market that there's completely no need for, and that's the only thing that you're good at, well, that's a really bad place to be. You feel very lost. You don't know where to go. And it's those moments where people tend to go into a gray area and try to perform some sort of deals or try to pretend to be their brokers or unlicensed brokers trying to do deal flow. Life will force you onto a path you're not prepared for. And sometimes that's great. Sometimes you'll hit it out of the park, but a lot of the times it just puts you in harm's way. One of my favorite moments in any company that I'm building, or this whole idea of my holding company of all these different entities and teams, is sharing resources. So to your point, it's just a pool of great IP, technologies, products, and services, and what they can create together by accident or inadvertently. Or the best is when you create a product for one specific need and you promote that to the world and hopefully you get some traction. And then all of a sudden your use case is obsolete because there's actually a bigger need for it that nobody even thought about, but the market said, hey, this product can be used for this. And now that becomes your anchor use for that item, that software, that product, whatever it may be. Those are great moments. But the only way you can accomplish those wins is you got to have a great team. You got to be so well structured. You got to be able to pivot and maneuver and overcome obstacles. And you have to be able to scale. One of the biggest things I tell people, slow and steady, because turn down that big order from a company if you can't handle it, because you have good sustainable business here with all these different smaller customers that you can control and you can manage. You take this one big order because you think you just hit a home run, and because you don't have the right structure or the right foundation, now you're not taking care of your smaller customers. This big order, there was a problem, it didn't hit the right delivery dates, they're not paying their bill, they're returning the products. All your other smaller customers, because you weren't servicing them, are now buying a similar product or a similar something somewhere else. So you have to be there's a lot you have to think about. My mind is always thinking 100 steps down the road and working backwards to the decision that we're making today. And it's not easy for people to do that, but I can do that because I've been through so much crap, and I know, hopefully at this point, I know every curveball and twist and crazy maneuver that can be done to hurt you because it's been done to me.
When you were talking, I was thinking of Nassim Taleb's anti-fragile mindset. You know, every knock or every movement or every shake of the tree makes you stronger, makes you smarter. And this accident helped you reassess,
Big time.
revalue, and understand how you need to be diversified. How do you see innovation though? Like you are thinking, okay, 100 steps ahead. Is it to protect yourself or is it to innovate?
Both. I mean, the adapt or die is a line that goes back forever. And you need to do that. You don't see Kmart and Sears stores around anymore. You don't see Enron, even though Enron came back as a meme token. You don't see MCI WorldCom. There's these huge companies that you would think that would never have disappeared or gone because they didn't adapt and they didn't innovate. So you have to. You can never get complacent. The minute you get complacent, because maybe your passion's gone, maybe something happened in your personal life that robbed your joy and creativity and evolving and whatever. We all have, everybody goes through hell, and nobody's immune to problems. I don't care what you have in the bank. But if those things happen, you have to look in history and say, okay, well, I know the outcome if I'm not continuing to innovate and to continue to drive something new. Those things you innovate may flop, they may not hit the mark, they may not be priced right. It doesn't mean you stop doing it. Or if you're feeling burnt out, don't self this don't be self-destructive to what you've built in your company and the people that depend on you. If you don't want to do this anymore, then find a buyer, merge with somebody else. Just keep it going. Like if you dedicated so much time and energy and blood, sweat, and tears into this, but you don't want to continue to innovate, then that's a moment in your journey that you need to be self-aware of. Okay, this is done. I'm not going to try to force this anymore. I'm done with this, but it should continue to live on, even if it's in somebody else's hands or a different situation. A lot of people have a hard time being self-aware of, I think everything has an expiration date. I think the people with the worst expiration dates have this ridiculous ego and pride into things that they're attached to. As you never see a U-Haul at a funeral, so you can't bring this shit with you.
I think what you're saying resonates a lot with ego. Definitely, what you said at the end, which is people thinking no one can do it as good as I, or no one can do this what I do. No one understands how much effort I got it, and money is not going to change my life. So I rather hold on. But I like your approach of perhaps pass the torch, or perhaps saying like being part of something, know your limits, know your capabilities, and going beyond your ego of saying, "Hey, can we? I don't want to do this anymore," or "I'm burnt," or I can take it from A to C, but from C onwards, they're better people. They're more interested people. They're not good for A to C, but they're better for this section. So I think having that mindset is it's very refreshing, and at the same time, I think it's very needed in a society where the entrepreneur has to be Mark Zuckerberg, start from zero, take it to Facebook.
That's not, I think that's the biggest. I tell people all the time, don't look at LinkedIn deals, don't look at BS Wall Street Journal deals, because you're going to feel so insecure. Like if I woke up every day and compared myself to Bill Gates, Bezos, or Elon Musk, I'd feel like I didn't do anything with my life. You can't, to your point, you can't compare uh, or have those expectations, because there's more behind those people than just the technology, right? There was the support system they had. There was a lot of moving pieces that allowed those magic moments to happen. If you don't have those same support systems or that same access, you can have the cure for cancer, it's never going to come out. You can have the next best social media platform in the world that nobody's ever going to download. It's not just the product, it's the entire package. And you get there. Some people are just born into it. Some people have born into a silver spoon situation where they have the ability to go to a network of Harvard graduates because they were born into that, and they could just raise $10 million and bring something great to the market. Most of us had to figure it out the hard way, but it's the ones that figured out the hard way know how to survive when the economy turns, or when things go bad, or when all the investors sue you. Like it's the ones that know how to push through those hurdles and battle and win. People like me, because I've been through it. Like I know I can survive anything outside of a health problem that's not curable. My point is, a lot of people are born into unique situations that are they're just blessed. That's how I tend to say. Most a very small amount of people are just blessed, and you see these great movements and moments, and because they blast it on social media or they post it on LinkedIn, you can't look at that like it's reality. It's not. Your reality is not that reality. You got to focus on what you can control and what God has gifted you with as far as your relationships and your resources and your capabilities. That's why you got to keep meeting people. You got to keep meeting people, building your network. That's the beautiful thing about life. It's really one person away from changing everything, good and bad. But you're really one person away from your whole world changing. And you have to have that mindset, even if you get kicked to the ground daily. You just have to have that belief.
Love it. I had a I 100% agree, and I also want to throw my own little spice there, which is playing the long game. The average billionaire is 65, the average millionaire is 55, and people under 25, they want to be a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot get there without the 65-year-old billionaire was perhaps like you at 25 or at 35 or at 45, but you cannot get there without having that long-term vision and keep grinding, keep going, keep doing it. Because when someone says, what's your 30-year plan? Most people can't even say their 5-year plan. And going back to investments, and you were saying that people want to hold on to investments forever. And I mentioned the secondary market because most people are like, oh, I want my money back in 2 years. It's like, why do you want it back in 2 years? If something's good, why not keep it there forever?
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
What exciting project are you working on now? What's next on your horizon?
We're always making announcements. My life's work is definitely with DLMI, the public company I took over in August of 2023. We've got an exceptional board and team, and we became the first of its kind public company in the United States that's properly how I believe tokenization should be built into the business models. Our announcements and verticals are growing. We're involved in so many different great projects and spaces, and I'm excited for the abilities that we'll be turning on for people around the world to buy into a DLMI company or an asset, even if it's $1. I'm so excited for them to be able to participate in what I believe in and what our company believes in. And they can feel a sense of pride. I reference, in the past, and it's mostly a masculine thing, but I'm not being, was it chauvinistic? But a man felt like a man when he owned a piece of land, like he put a flag in it. There's even movies and westerns about it. Like that was a moment where you felt like you made it and you felt like you become a man. I don't think owning land is reality with 8.5, 9 billion people around the world. I don't think that's feasible. But I do feel tokenization of fractional ownership of that land can bring that same concept back for all humans, male, women, or whatever you choose to be. So that's what I'm excited about. Our projects and our vision where people can own a piece of land or a piece of building and actually have a piece of ownership in something. That if I can leave the earth with accomplishing that, and I'm good now. If I were to end this call and I'm done, I've done more than I've ever imagined I could do. I'm set. But after that accident, especially, I believe I'm here for a reason. And I feel like if we can do that and show that to the world, that what we've accomplished and giving everybody a sense of ownership of something real and a sense of value that hopefully increases and they can earn from, it's life changing. That's life changing for billions of people. Problem with Americans in most first world countries, they don't realize how powerful and valuable $1 is in a third world country. Like it buys them food, it buys them a place to live, it actually frees them. So if we can make that dollar $2, $3, $10 more a month for them based upon the businesses that we're trying to create, that's monumental. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish.
Super inspirational. Brian, I want to thank you for coming. I'm honored that you accepted and dedicated an hour of your time to teach us your whole career. It's just so much knowledge that you shared with us. So thank you again, and very excited to what you're working on. So you definitely have someone in me that wants to see where you go, and hopefully we can
Thank
connect
you.
again in 5 years or 10 years and
Absolutely.
see that this dream has come a reality.
I love that. Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity to speak with you today.
Of course. Welcome.
Thank you, sir.